Alrighty, last time we left off, I was just about to go to the Verizon store, try and get rid of this flashlight. So, I go to the local Verizon store, I walk in, and I explain to the guy the problem. He looks at my phone, he's like, "Ooh, I really don't know how to fix that." And I'm like, "Oh, that sucks." And I'm like, "So what should I do?" And he's like, "Oh, well, you can go to the corporate headquarters." And I'm like, "Oh, where's the corporate headquarters? I don't want to go to another store. I was hoping you had like some Indian guy in the back who's just gonna fix this thing." He's like, "Oh, the corporate store is a few miles away." I'm like, "Oh God, another store." So I get in my car and I go to the corporate store. And I walk in, it's like super complicated. I have to like sign in with like my phone number and all this crap I've never done before. I just want to talk to somebody. I don't want to like use this whole computer. It's ridiculous. So I sign in, I wait like 10 minutes. They finally call me over and I give my phone to this guy and I explain the problem. And the guy just stands up, walks away, gives the phone to the other lady. He didn't want to have any problem, any part of this. He didn't want to be any part of my problem. He wanted nothing to do with the phone. I'm like, "Oh, that's not a good sign. This guy doesn't even want to deal with me." So this other lady flags me over and she's like, "Okay, what's going on?" And I explain the whole problem. And she's like, "Oh, that's a pretty serious problem." And I'm like, "Oh, damn, like, why can't there be just a quick fix for this crap?" So she like tries the same exact things that I did last night. And I'm like, "God, this is not going to work. Like, I already did all that." She's like, "Oh, well, all this stuff didn't work." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know that. I tried that." And she's like, "Well, I can do a hardware restore for you." I'm like, "Oh, hardware restore? Like, this sounds terrible." And she's like, "Well, what it would do is it's gonna, clear all your contacts and it's gonna clear everything you have on your phone." I'm like, "Everything?" And she's like, "Yep." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm losing Angry Birds. I'm losing Talking Tom the cat. I'm losing Talking Tom Cat the 2. I'm losing Talking Gina the giraffe. I'm losing everything. Text, contacts, videos, talking animals, everything. Damn, this sucks. So I'm like pondering, like, do I really want to get rid of this? I'm like, well, talking animals, all my stuff on my phone, batteries being drained out of my phone. Like, I need to get rid of everything. So I do. And I'm like, all right, I just want to get rid of everything. And she's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure. I've thought it over." And she's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, like, I'm sure. Just do it." And she's like, "Okay," like, I'm about to press the button. And I'm like, "All right, lady, just do it already. God." It's like she wants me to change my mind. So she does the restore thing. It takes like another 10 minutes. I'm just sitting there like, oh. And guess what? So obviously, everything's gone. Everything's gone. Oh, but what is the one thing that stayed? The flashlight. The flashlight is still on, even though there's no record of any data in my phone. I have no contacts in my phone, no text, no anything, but this flashlight is still on. And I'm like, wow! And so meanwhile, this other guy is like typing on the computer next door. He's like, "No. Oh, it seems like some people are having this problem too." I'm like, "All right, I don't care if other people are having a problem." He's like, "Oh, it has to do with the video of the picture of the flash." I'm like, "Buddy, I don't care about the origin of the problem. Just fix it." He's like, "Oh well, Apple's coming out with a new update to fix this here conundrum you're in, sir." And I'm like, "Well, what the hell? How long is that gonna take?" And like they try this other crap, and then it's totally not working. And I'm just like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, now I have no contacts. I don't have anything. And I'm like, "Oh, well, you have the flashlight." I'm like, that is not funny. Like, shut up. Obviously I have the damn flashlight. You know that. So they're like, "Oh, well, we could do this and we can try that." And I'm like, like, am I gonna end up living in this Verizon store? Like, this is taking so long. Like, I'm dressed up to go to the gym because I really just want to go to the gym and burn off some steam from work. Now I have even more steam to burn off with this friggin' phone. And they're like, "We can try this. It's gonna take about 20 minutes." And I'm just like, no. Like, I'm not gonna be in the store a second longer. I'm gonna implode if I'm here any longer. And they're like, "Oh, well, we'll send you on your way then." I'm like, "Well, what the hell is my next step? Like, what am I supposed to do?" And they're just like, "Oh, you can, you can go to the place where you bought it. And I'm like, oh, now I have to go to Best Buy? So I like look at the clock. It's like 8:30 at this point. And I'm like, I don't even have time to go to Best Buy. I've spent my whole evening in Verizon wireless stores, and now I have to go to Best Buy. And it's like, I'm thinking like, if I go to Best Buy, like what makes Best Buy people better than Verizon people? Like, they're not gonna fix it. And they're like, well, you can go to the Apple store. I'm like, all right, where's the Apple store? And they're like, oh, it's like 15 miles away, like 2 cities over. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? I have to drive like a half an hour to go to the Apple store. And you're like, oh yeah, we're sorry there's not one in your city. And I'm just like, oh jeez. And meanwhile, this other lady is like looking at my phone, and she somehow is just like, she must have thought that she had like psychic powers or something. She gets my phone like this, and she's like staring into the light. And I like look at her, and it's one of those things where you're like, what is this lady doing? Like, you can see the light, you don't need to put your eyeball up to it. And I'm like, this lady is just going to totally burn her retinas, and it's not going to be good. So she like stares at the phone for like 4 seconds, eyes like right into the light, and she like pulls the phone away, and she's like, oh, ooh, oh, my eyes hurt. And I'm like, well, what the hell did you expect, lady? And I'm like, great, now this lady is useless. She's like rubbing her eyes, like can't see anything. She's not going to help me. The guy on the computer is still like, oh boy, this is a doozy of a problem there, Daniel. I'm like, oh god. So I leave the Verizon store with no contacts, no talking animals, no nothing, except this flashlight, which is still on, slowly killing my battery. But it's like, what am I gonna do? You know, like. So this is the end of part 2. The next video that will be made will be after I go to Best Buy, or after I go to Apple Store, or eventually if I just like sit down and have dinner with the creators of Apple, because I feel like it's going to get to that, because nobody can fix my problem.